What's up, everybody? Here we are on another episode. I'm flying this one solo today. No co-host to turn to, so any awkward silences you can attribute to me. But today we have on our guest, Gage Heward. I'm going to try and remember the entire bio here. It's a long one. So 9 years in the door-to-door space.
That's right.
You guys owner of Mamba Marketing. Did $3 million in revenue last year. Gonna break the 8 figures this year.
That's the goal.
Love it.
Yeah.
25 rental properties.
That's right.
Okay. And host of Proximity is Power.
That's right. You nailed it.
Love it. I super appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Riley.
Yeah. So first question, of course, why'd you start a podcast?
Yeah, great question. I think the reason I started the podcast is, back when I got into door-to-door, even growing up, like in high school, my dad was always sending me like podcast episodes that he loved, and listening to, a 10-minute or a 30-minute or an hour podcast. It's crazy how much you can learn and the value you can get from them. So I think deep down, I always wanted to start a podcast. But when I finally decided to, I was at a Tony Robbins event, and he put us in this meditation, and it by the end of it, I was just like sobbing. And I kind of saw my life at the trajectory it was currently going. And I just realized, if I died today, I would not be proud of the difference and the mark and the impact I made on the world. And even going in my current trajectory, I wasn't I didn't feel like I was excited about where I was headed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just wanted my life to be more about contribution and giving and love. And I'm I've learned so much from the people in my life. In fact, my dad, when I was in high school, he basically challenged me to interview one successful person a week. Awesome. So, and that was huge because I'd take him to lunch and I just have my phone out with voice memos, recording on, and I just listen and ask him tons of questions to just get so much value. And I got so much value from those interviews that I'm why don't I just start a podcast, interview all those successful people, and then have a platform to actually listen back to it myself and then share it with anyone that wants to listen to it.
Yeah.
So long answer to your question. That's why I started the podcast, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You've had some pretty notable names on.
Yeah.
What are a top 1 or 2 just lessons that you've learned from people?
Yeah, great question, man. That's the crazy thing is, even if you feel like you know someone, the podcast platform is really cool because you can even dive deeper. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd say, common theme that I've kind of seen is people only change their life, or they only become great by the people they surround themselves with. Like Casey Baugh just didn't become Casey Baugh. Brandon Turner didn't just become Brandon Turner. Jeff Mendez, all of these guys didn't just become great overnight. They surrounded themselves with greatness. Brandon Turner became Brandon Turner because he reads 60 plus books a year, attends a bunch of masterminds, seminars, and now he public speaks. And so that was cool to learn from him. And then Casey, he was in every room he could be with Vivint as they grew from barely any revenue to $1 billion in revenue. So I think that's the common theme I see is if you want the fastest way to change your life is to change your proximity. And that's why I started the podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had seen too in my life. The books and the people that you surround yourself with will determine who you are today and who you're becoming in the future.
Yeah.
So
no, it's like you said, it's the I don't want to call it a shortcut because it takes work to get there, to surround yourself by the people.
Right.
It's not just oh, cool, here's a platform, come talk with me.
Right.
You got to put in effort. You got to actually drive it and make it a thing.
Yeah.
So that people want to be engaged.
Yeah. And I think that's the common thing that I've seen is just all these people that I look up to are intentional with who and how they spend their time.
Yeah.
And they're very intentional with who they're closest friends are, what they're listening to, what they're reading, what, seminars or masterminds are going to. And it's not like by accident, it's very intentional. So
how would you say that kind of initially started for yourself?
Yeah.
I need to get in these rooms. I need to get acquainted with these people. I need to, work my way up into the circles.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great question. Honestly, my life changed a couple months before I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. So my dad took me to lunch, and it was right after my senior season of football. And he takes me to lunch. We sit down, and he's like, Gage, what are your plans now that you're about to graduate high school? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe go to college, maybe go on a mission. Mm-hmm. But I know I want to be successful. And to me at the time, it was a lot of money, right? And he's like, the two things that have made me the most successful in life to this point, number one are the books I've read. Number two are the people I've met. He's like, you really do become the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. And he's like, remember that stack of books I gave you for Christmas last year that you haven't read? I'm like, yeah. And they were just stuffed under my bed, right?
Yeah, the one collecting dust. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's like, those books have changed my life more than anything else. And he's like, you haven't read any of them? I'm like, you're right. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I will challenge you to read those books. And every time you read a book, come to my office, we'll talk about it. If I know that you read it and actually read it, nice. I'll pay you $10. And I promise, like, the $10 is nothing compared to the value you'll actually get from applying those books. And, I wasn't a reader growing up. I'd read the Harry Potter series, and I was like, those books looked really boring to me. But, like, the look in my dad's eyes, the way he said it or something just, like, hit me. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to actually do this. Like, okay, like, you think books change your life. I'm going to start reading these books. And then the second thing he said is, yeah, like, start interviewing people that you look up to, and you, like, your friends, like, who you're friends with matters more than almost anything else. He's like, show me your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you your future. Yeah. And so he's like, be intentional with who you spend your time, and also, like, try to interview one successful person a week. And, growing up too, my dad always, like, when he was dropping me off at a friend's house or at a football game or whatever, he always asked me these questions. He's like, who are your friends? What do they have you doing? What do they have you thinking? What do they have you saying? But most importantly, who do they have you becoming? Mm-hmm. And do you like what your friends are making you become? And I was like, shut up, Dad. Like, yeah. Like, I don't want to hear
a dad thing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Dude, I just want to go play football.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing is, like, when I wasn't with my parents, it made me think about that and, like, choose better friends. And it's crazy because I was in, elementary school with a group of friends, and they're all, like, good, cool kids. And then you see those friends get into different friend groups in junior high and high school, and they just go off a totally different path, down a totally different path, just by who they're friends with. And they start wearing, like, different things, dyeing their hair, or, like, it's just crazy, like, how powerful it is. And most people don't realize the power of proximity because it's so subtle and it's so slow, I guess, but literally it shapes you. Yeah. So that's what got that. That's where I got on the journey of that. So
yeah, I've heard you say it on another podcast, and if you haven't trademarked this, you need to. But it's the proximity isn't only power; it's also poison.
Yeah.
And I mean, exactly to your point right there of the friend groups, the people you associate yourself with.
Yeah.
What trajectory are they leading you on? Even when it comes to a business standpoint, right? The people I'm surrounding myself with, are they attributing in a positive, a negative light? Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Mm-hmm. So have you noticed a traditional theme with the guests that you've had on your podcast? Or if you could find, like, an underlying tone that typically comes out, what would you say that is?
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing is, like, success leaves clues. And I think that everyone that's achieved success in any area of life, it's like there's a science behind it, and, like, they all do the actions. I think that the fastest way to get what you want in life, like, let's say you're here and you're trying to get here, is figure out what do you want first? Like, where are you now and where do you want to go? Like, you got to get clear on that, because if you don't have a target, you're not going to, you can never hit a target you don't have, right? So figure out what you want. Like, where are you now? What do you want? And then once you know what you want, find out, like, ask yourself, why do you want it? Do you actually want it? Or are you more comfortable where you're at? And then once you have a lot of whys and a big why surrounding, the goal, then the next part is the how. How are you going to go from here to here? Because most goals that you set, you haven't achieved before, so you don't really have a clear path on how to go achieve it. And like every successful person I've interviewed, like I've realized that instead of the how, change it to who's done it that you could go learn from. And I think that's like the common theme that I've seen in the interviews is like all of them had a mentor. All of them had people that they learned, what they're doing at a high level so they could go copy it and duplicate it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, finding not the shortcuts, but the quicker ways to success.
Exactly.
Right? That's actually a perfect transition into, so sounds like your dad was a great mentor to you, helping get you onto that path there. And then your start in door-to-door sales. Yeah. What did that look like? Who's your mentor? Talk to me about the beginning stages of that.
Yeah, it's a crazy story because, right after that lunch with my dad, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go read these books. And the second or third book I read was Think and Grow Rich. And it blew my mind. But it talked about, there was a challenge in that book where it said, write your goal down, like a money statement, like write down how much you want to make and by when, and then read it every day and write it down every day or whatever. And up until that point, I'd never made more than like $3,000 in a summer or in a year, right? I was a high school kid.
I don't know many 18-year-olds
that did, right? So. Yeah, so it was crazy because I set a goal. I'm like, how crazy would it be to have $30,000? Like I just 10x the goal. I'm like, $30,000 a year from now. And it was December of 2016. I was about to graduate in May of 2017. And then, December 2017 was a year later. And I'm like, I'm going to write down, I have $30,000 in my bank account by December of the following year. And when I wrote that down, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, no way could I have $30,000. I had just graduated high school. I had never made more than $4,000 or $5,000 in the summer. There's no way I could do it. And so I set this goal, and like 3 weeks went by and nothing happened. And then like all of a sudden, like my cousin called me and he's like, hey Gage, like what are your plans this summer? And I'm like, I don't know, be a lifeguard or be a waiter. Like, I don't know. And he's like, last summer I went out and sold pest control with this company called Aptiv in St. Louis, and I made $44,000 in 3.5 months. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Right? You're like, no, come on.
No way. And he's like, I made a list of guys that I thought would do well. You were the top of the list. Like, you know how to work hard. You're decent at talking to people. I think you should come out and do sales with me. I think you do really well. And at first I was like, no, thanks, man. Like, I don't want to sell door to door. That sounds like it sucks. But also like, oh, that could be a vehicle where I could hit my goal, right, of $30,000. And that night I went home and talked to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, JT hit me up to do sales. What do you think? And he's like, well, what'd you say? I'm like, I told him no. Like, it sounds like it sucks. And my dad's like, well, I don't know if you know this, but me and your mom actually sold for 3 summers back when we were in college. And he's like, it was awesome. We were able to pay for school debt-free, buy a triplex, buy our first house, start our business, all from the money we made from door to door. And he's like, and on top of that, he's like, I went to school for 4 years studying business, and I learned more in those 3 summers than I did in a full 4-year degree at BYU.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, you should 1,000% go and do that job for 2 reasons. Number one is the money. He's like, now that you're graduating high school, the first step you need to take in life is go from an hourly or a salary job to commission or results-based. Because in hourly and salary, you're capped on how much you can make. Right. By how many hours you work. Robert Kiyosaki says salary and hourly are slavery. Right. And he's like, there's only a certain amount of hours you can work in a week, and you're capped on how much you can make. and I realized that, like, even as a lifeguard, I had no incentive ever to be the best because I got paid the same as the worst guy there. I'm like,
right?
Why would I even try and do great at this? And he's like, what's cool about sales is you don't get paid per hour. You get paid what you put in the hour. If you're the best, you get paid the best. If you're the worst, you get paid the least. And so he's like, you can make a ton of money. He's like, the top guys in summer sales are making, hundreds of thousands in a summer. The worst guys are still making more than most hourly jobs that you can find back home. Yep. So either way, you're winning on that front. And he's like, also, he's in finance. He's like, if you can make a ton of money while you're in your late teens, early 20s, and live broke and invest the difference, you'll be able to retire faster than all your friends. Yeah. And I'm like, that'd be sick, right?
Yeah.
And so the money was one. The second thing he said is a skill set. He's like, I don't care if you want to do sales. I don't care if you want to do business as a career or not. Sales will make you better in any field you go into. If you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an accountant, an engineer, a husband, a father, it's going to make you better because sales is just communication skills and people skills. And that's what you're doing all day in the summer for 100 days straight is talking to people. Like, you knock on someone's door, you have to convince them to like you and to buy from you before they shut the door. And like, you've done sales, right?
You got to adapt.
Exactly. And so it makes you really good at managing your body language, your paraverbals, the words you say, but also reading other people and just showing them a solution to their problem that benefits them, right? And so he's like, that skill set will make you better because any field you go into, you're going to be dealing with other humans and other people. And sales really is just communication skills and people skills. Yeah. So any field, you're going to be better if you're better at dealing with people. And so he's like, you should 1,000% go do that job. Even if it was an unpaid internship, the skill set alone will bless your life forever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, there's no better place to learn sales than door to door, where you have to talk to 60 people a day that don't know you, and you have to convince them to buy from you really fast, and then do that. Because Tony Robbins talks about how you master anything. It's 3 steps. First, repetition, lots of repetition. Second, copy greatness. Copy someone that's done it at a high level that you can go learn from. And then the third way you master something is full immersion. Mm-hmm. And summer sales is so beautiful because it's so much repetition. Yep. That's what you're doing all day long. Every single day. Yep. Right? And role playing when you're not, right? Yep. So that, and then you're learning from a leader who's done it at a high level, hopefully, right? Yeah. And then the third thing is full immersion. Like most of the guys that do sales are moving out of state, away from home, away from comfort, and you're full immersed. Like, you get dropped off, you're there to get picked up that night. Yeah. And so that's like the beautiful thing. And it was awesome. So that's what happened is I called my cousin back. I was like, all right, I'm in. Yeah. Let's do this. I'm like, Dad, you sold me. I'll go try this out. So.
Dang. And that was, what year was that?
It was 2017.
Okay.
And so, it was crazy because I got my last back end check in December, and I literally I have a screenshot, but I had $30,000, like $200 in my bank account, like to a T. Yep. And I was like, that's crazy. I set this goal of $30,000. I had no way or no pass on how I was going to get there. Mm-hmm. But I set the goal, spiritually created the goal by, writing it down every day, saying it out loud every day, and then found someone that had done it. Yeah. I could do it too.
Yeah.
So,
following the steps.
Exactly.
Right? It's already been laid out. It's already been proven by multiple other people.
Right.
Now it's rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Go copy and duplicate.
Go do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
So from there, obviously grew, stayed there for 5 years.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Assuming, went into management, scaled the sales assets over a while. At what point did you decide that I needed to do something different?
Yeah.
Like at what point, and by no way am I trying to promote everybody go leave and start their own companies. Like, I stayed at the company I sold with for 5 years as well. And it was that was great while I was there. Uh-huh. But what did you notice in terms of like, I need to go do something else. I need to actually go build my own thing and move.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like when I first got into door to door, it was never like, hey, I'm going to go do this forever. It was like, hey, I'm going to be single and single and in college probably the next 4 or 5 years. There's no way I'm not going to sell at least in the summer.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense not to. So I did the backwards math and I've averaged like $50 an hour that summer. I'm like, that's sick. Yeah. And I'll only get better. My commissions will grow. Yeah. But like, I think, you know, and my goal with summer sales is like, if I can make a ton of money and invest it and, you know, start making more from my investments than I spend every month, like get out of the rat race, you can call it. Like how I always felt like I was entrepreneurial minded. Like I always knew I'd start a business at some point. And so I'm like, how cool would it be to be financially free or out of the rat race in the next 4 or 5 years, so that when, like, let's say I get married, I could go start a business and not worry about it being cash flow positive, and my wife won't care because we can still pay our bills. Right. So that was like the goal. And then also like learn the skills of business, learn sales, learn recruiting, learn, you know, leading, which are like the top people in any company are masters.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
They got to recruit people. I got to build my big team.
Right.
I got to sell you on the vision of why I come here.
Train them on how to do it at a high level. So I was like, I always like was like, I'm going to stay here until it doesn't make sense for me anymore. And so like, I felt like it was funny because I interviewed my best friend's dad. These were one of the lunches that I did, you know, that my dad challenged me to do. And he owned this very successful janitorial company. And they cleaned all the Walgreens, CVS stores, Targets, and all the Mid-Eastern states. Like, huge company.
Yeah, that's a big contract.
Yeah. He's a beast and super wealthy. And I asked him, I'm like, why why cleaning company? Like, why'd you start a cleaning company versus anything else? And he's like, it's what I knew. And he's like, look, my dad was a janitor, and I was helping him growing up from 12 to 18. I'd help my dad clean houses, clean, you know, apartment buildings, clean different things. And I got good at it, and I started a business in what I knew. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, you know, at first when I got into door-to-door, it was like just to get out of the rat race. And then I was kind of waiting for a business idea. But what happened is the company I was at kind of grew too big too fast, and the rep experience wasn't as great as it used to be. Okay. And I felt like if I was going to recruit my cousins, my brothers, my sisters, my friends, my nephews, my nieces, I want to recruit them to a place that is the best place for them, where they sell the most, get paid the highest commissions, get paid on the majority of their accounts, so they actually make the most money. Right. And yeah, it was crazy because 5 years in, I hit my goal of being financially free, which was awesome. And then I'm like, I'm going to go start a business doing what I know how to do and just make it better. And so that's when I started Mamba. I don't even know what you asked me. Oh, you're good. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, let's just put it out there. That's the reason I personally love this space is because people are entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad thing at other companies, but it's yes, you can go to a large company, you can build there and you can be there for a while, or you can use that as a stepping stone to then go do the next thing.
Right.
Because I believe in competition, and I think it drives everybody to be better.
For sure.
How does this company that, you know, in 3-4 years becomes the next biggest thing create everybody else to want to go do the same?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, kind of back to that question of like, at what point do you need to make that move?
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's like, I mean, you just said it, the culture, I needed to go provide and create and now do something new so that other people could follow.
Exactly. Yeah. It just didn't feel right anymore. Like, like the company I was at was great, learned a ton, and it always felt right being there until it didn't. And then when it didn't, I was like, okay, I need to make it change. Like, I don't feel good here. And and then when I did leave and I started my own thing, it felt right from day one. It was hard.
I bet.
Lots of challenges, but no, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
So
starting a business now.
Yeah.
Running your own. New challenges come.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I always like to ask this question, but what is a challenge that you did not think would happen that's happened?
Yeah.
Where you're like, that came out of nowhere.
Oh, man.
How do I deal with this?
Yeah, it's so many, right? But let's think. I mean, my first summer owning my own company, I decided to start the company in January, so a couple months before the summer.
Okay.
I recruited my nephew, a couple of his mission buddies, because when I left Aptive, I couldn't bring any of my people, right? Yeah. And I wanted to leave things clean.
For sure.
And I ended up still having a team or two go out that summer without me at Aptive that I didn't pull, and they were family members, right? So it's crazy. But so yeah, I started from scratch in January, recruited a couple guys, and then my other nephew was just about to graduate high school, couple of his buddies, and honestly, found a partner with a small pest company, and I thought everything was going to go smooth. We were all going to make millions of dollars. It's going to go great. But no, dude, it was crazy. We went out to a market that I had never sold before, and honestly, like, it's like the Mike Tyson quote, like, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
100%, dude.
And, man, it was tough. Like, I felt like the market was tough. One, it was my least favorite market or city that I'd ever sold in. And I have the belief that I can sell great anywhere, but it was like a hard market, but also like a harder offer. Like, the previous company I was at, we could do quarterly billing or bi-monthly, but this company, it was monthly billing, mandatory, and I thought that'd be a good thing, but customers didn't like being charged monthly for a service that they were only getting quarterly. Right. Yeah. So that was tough. And then also their pricing minimums were high. Also, my reps didn't have as much training as I like, because a lot of them signed right before the summer. Yeah. A lot of them were moving from home right out of high school, had never done anything hard. And so I had rookies struggling. It was a tough market. I wasn't selling great. My guys weren't selling great. And at the end of that summer, you know, not a lot of guys wanted to come back. And I was like, holy crap, because I had sold and led really good teams at Aptive, but I just got my face kicked in. Yeah. And I was like, man. And so I had to kind of rebuild again after that year. Yeah. And yeah, it was tough.
Did you ask yourself, why did I do this? Should I go back?
Yes. I never wanted to go back, but I was like, yeah, why? What did I do? But also at the same time that summer, the guys that did finish with me made great money, like more money than they had at Aptive, and I also made more money than I ever had that year, despite all the challenges. So it was like a step forward in that aspect, and I feel like failure is the best teacher.
Absolutely.
Because I was like, okay, how do I do everything in my power this off season to not have it go like it did this last summer? Yeah. I'm like, okay, we're going to only hire guys that could do a 4-month summer, guys that know the entire pitch, all the objections. We're going to sell for a company in markets that we want to with a better offer for the customer. So, and then we restructured our pay scales. Like I just did everything that off season to make it better and just to make sure it wasn't going to go bad. Yeah. And I went way better year 2. So,
I mean, I feel like most people have seen the graph of how success actually happens. And it's as much of a hockey stick as we think it can be. Right. There's definitely divots. Oh, right? Yeah. There's peaks, there's valleys on it. But it's like you said, failure is the best teacher, because if that didn't happen, I mean, could you have grown as fast as you have grown now? No. Maybe not. Right. Did you learn that, I do need to train these people more. I do need to actually set some parameters. Like, if you would have just went out and crushed it, like, maybe that would have just been stagnant afterwards. Yeah. But now you're like, oh, cool. I needed to get my teeth kicked in.
For sure.
And that's, I mean, once again, what I love about the industry and people wanting to open up businesses and go just literally figure it out is that's what you have to do. You have to fail moving forward as you do it.
Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know, you know? Right. And I feel like life happens for you, not to you. Yep. And you can always find, like, I could have, finished that first summer and been like, all this sucks, like, I'm done. Yeah. Like, screw this. I'm just going to be a full-time real estate investor. But it was good because I was like, okay, what can I learn from this? Where's the good in all this crap? And found it. So,
And so since then, I mean, talk to me about the other successes that have come from post that first summer now.
Yeah. So summer number 2, like we had, you know, I felt like better quality reps, and then they were trained way better, had a better partnership, in my opinion, with a newer pest company to sell for, and went to a bunch of Tony Robbins events, tried to apply all the things that I was learning in there in different books and people. And yeah, summer 2 went completely the opposite. Like, it was the best summer to date. Like, had the highest per rep average, had the highest pay scale in the industry. Retention was phenomenal, and my guys got paid like I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Like I had a rookie that I recruited from Discount Tire, and he was making barely any money, working his butt off, and he made over $130,000 his first summer ever selling.
That's awesome.
And just to see like the change in him and the change in these different guys, it was the coolest thing ever. Like, hey, like this summer actually changed my life. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then obviously the money follows, and it's a lot of fun. So,
but, I mean, that's what it's about, right? It's the evolution of I can sell.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go become a leader. Exactly. Now I'm going to manage it. Now I'm going to own the thing.
Right.
And make sure that people can follow, because now it's changing, instead of, like you said, from the how to the who. Now you've become the who for other people,
right?
Where they can follow in those footsteps too.
Exactly.
And for a kid working a minimum wage job to making that life-changing money, like,
it's the best.
Now I got to go duplicate that.
Oh yeah.
Do it more and more.
It's so fun. And then, taking a rep, like, I mean, the dean of Harvard Business School says the best form of dignity you can give another human is teach them to become economically self-reliant. And that's why I love door-to-door so much, is because you can take a kid who has drive but no skills or maybe no path to getting what he wants in life, and you can teach him a skill set that can make him economically self-reliant.
Right.
And there's no cooler feeling to be a part of their success, and it's so much fun. And then teaching that same kid, how to master sales, but then to go, recruit his buddies and train his buddies and lead his buddies and become a leader himself. It's awesome. Yeah. So I love it.
So what's the goal with Mamba?
Yeah.
You're in year 3 right now?
Yeah, this is summer number 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll do over 8 figures in revenue.
We're on pace for that. So keep your fingers crossed.
Right.
I mean, the goal at the beginning of Mamba was to create the best place for reps. So that was the first goal, like where reps sell the most, get paid the most, and pay the highest commission, and then have the best retention and the best offer to the customers, right? So that was the first goal, because if I help reps make the most money and earn the most money by doing those things, then they'll want to come back and bring their friends the next year, and we'll grow, right? So that was the goal, and I feel like we did that last year, but it's an ongoing thing, right? Because every year you got to get better and better. So that was the goal, and then also to create a cash cow for my guys and for me to go invest and become even build wealth even more than we have, and buy more real estate, buy more private equity and stuff. So the goal now, I'd say, the goal is 10 million in revenue this summer. Continue to dominate and help my guys learn the skills of sales, leading, recruiting, but also how to build wealth themselves. And I feel like there's a special day that comes when you no longer have to work. You work because you want to, not because you have to. Yeah. And it's the coolest feeling in the world. I remember the day that I made $5,500 from my investments in a month, and my expenses were $2,000. I was like, holy shit.
You're like, I'm not great at math, but I can do that green. Math.
Yeah, I'm in the black. Yeah. And I feel like I heard a quote that said, if you do something because you have to, it's work. If you do something because you want to, it's play. Mm-hmm. And I feel like ever since that day, and 5 grand's not insane, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for a single guy,
Hey.
that's good, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like, getting there was so cool. And now it's just like getting there at a faster, like a new level, like 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand a month or whatever is super fun for me. And then helping guys do that is really cool,
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So last part I want to touch on here, which obviously got brought up in the beginning, but 25 rental properties. So how did you get into that?
Yeah.
It is a big thing in door to door. Go make a lot of money. Don't go get taxed.
Right.
Let's go invest in it. So first question, how did you get into it? And then second question of what other asset classes or diversification with investments do you do?
Yeah. My dad always said there's 2 ways to make money in this life. You bust your ass or your money makes money. And he's like, your money making money is way more fun, but you have to bust your ass first to get the money to invest, right? And so what got me into real estate was after my first couple summers, I wanted to put my money away, and I actually got introduced to Casey Baugh. And I was at his house, and he was talking about his experience in door-to-door and how he made a sum of money and wanted to go invest it. And so he found this guy that was super wealthy, would really get into investing, and Casey's like, hey, here's my money, go invest it for me.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I'm not going to take your money. You have no idea what I'd be investing in. You don't know the risk. You don't know anything. He's like, there's no such thing as a good investment. There's only good investors. He's like, you need to go become a good investor. And he's like, if you don't know what to invest in your human life value, invest in yourself until you know what to invest in.
Nice.
And hearing that from Casey was really cool. I'm like, okay, I need to go level up and learn how to invest, because there's no such thing as a good investment, only good investors. Yeah. And so my dad too got me on books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon, like some of these OG baller investing books. And I started to read them and just get obsessed with that. And then, as I was reading these books, I kind of realized that 99% of millionaires in the United States became millionaires through real estate investing, whether that was their own primary house that they own or whatever. And there were, what I love too about door to door is you can go get in rooms with people that you have no business being in rooms with, right? And Chandler Smith was a big guy at Aptiv, the company I was at, and he had just recently started a YouTube channel teaching people how to invest in real estate. He was making a ton of money in door-to-door and then funneling it all into real estate, not paying any taxes on his real estate, but also his earned income, which was crazy. And so I ended up buying his course, and then, Bigger Pockets was a huge resource. Yeah. Brandon Turner was the host of that, and I was lucky enough to meet him recently. But yeah, just started reading books, talking to people who had done it, and yeah, I pulled the trigger on my first rental property. I was scared out of my mind.
I bet.
And it's been fun. Like, I feel like once you buy the first one, like the first investment's never usually the best, but it is because it gets you in the game.
Right.
And you learn a lot, and you just get better as you go. But most people are scared to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been fun. Ever since buying the first one, it's like Monopoly. You just want to keep buying more and more and more.
Yep.
So it's fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's like you said, it's, kind of similar with I had to go figure it out, starting your own company, and cool. Yeah, had a little failure, but learned from it.
Exactly.
Same thing with investments. It's you're never going to make money if you just sit back on the sidelines and watch everything else happen.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, fools laugh at people's mistakes. Smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And I feel like most people are fools in life. Like they laugh at people. They, talk down on people doing stuff in life, and they're not in the arena themselves. Right. And then I've definitely been at that people. Like I make fun of someone dropping a catch in the Super Bowl or whatever. Right. Like,
come on,
you idiot. Right. But fools, and then smart people, they do it themselves and they figure it out. But the best way to learn is to learn from others and get as educated as you can, spend time with people that have done it, read the books so you can condense decades of learning on your own into days or weeks. Yeah. And so I've definitely still, despite doing that, you're still going to make mistakes, but like you can learn things way faster by getting in rooms with people that have done it at a high level, Yeah. So, but yeah, with investing too, you asked about asset classes and stuff. So here's the thing. So since my first summer, I've invested 80% of every dollar I've made into something, like mostly real estate, some stocks, some crypto, stuff like that. But then about a year ago, I had Casey Ball on my podcast, or maybe it was a podcast I heard of his or something, but he said, you only value where you spend your time, your money, and your energy. And I looked at the dollar amount or the percentage of my income that I was investing into myself, because really the best investment at the end of the day is yourself.
Right.
Because the best asset is you. Yeah. If you can go get more skilled, you can level up your mindset, you're going to go make more in the marketplace. Sure. Like Warren Buffett was speaking to a class, and he's like, if I could pay you guys all $100,000 right now, but I get 10% of your earnings for life, who would take that deal? And he's like, I'd do that deal all day because you guys are assets. You're going to make so much more money than that, and I'm going to get my return tenfold or whatever. And so, and all these people that I interviewed and stuff all talk about how the best investment, even Warren Buffett, was a Dale Carnegie course on communication and public speaking. Like that was his best investment, and he's Warren Buffett.
Right.
He's investing in Geico, like some of these crazy things. And so, a year ago I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, if I actually believe, do I actually believe that the best investment is in me? Because I was investing everything into real estate and stocks and different things.
Putting it elsewhere.
And putting like maybe a couple $100 into books every year and maybe door-to-door calls, right?
Like, I'll take it,
a couple little things here and there. But I was like, I'm going to go invest real dollars into my personal development. So I decided to do Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. So I get all of his events for a year. Mm-hmm. And one of the events is Plat Finance in Whistler, Canada.
Like a true Canadian.
Whistler, Canada. And it was Plat Finance. And it was crazy because he brought in billionaires, like top experts in the world on the economy, on finance, on investing. And I learned more that week on investing than I have my whole life. Wow. And it's crazy because in the middle of that seminar, I look back and Tony Robbins is in the back of the room personally taking notes. Like he's still like he puts on this event every year for himself and for his Platt family to go learn from the best in the world on this stuff. Yeah. And it was so cool because we saw all these different experts, their opinions, and then Tony's opinion, his portfolio, your current portfolio, and then plans to go change or get your portfolio better. Sure. And so it was really cool seeing like how his portfolio was set up, and I realized I was way too heavy in real estate. Okay. Because he says basically if you can have 8 to 12 uncorrelated investments, you reduce your risk by 80% and improve your upside. Yeah. And so I'm like looking at it, I'm like 85% real estate. Yeah. Like freak. And so it was really cool because like Tony's portfolio was like 30% like index funds. Okay. Like public equities, 25% real estate, 25% private equity, a little bit of crypto, a little bit of oil, a little bit of gold and silver. And it was just cool to see like the blueprint on what he's doing. And he's like, he talks to the top people in the world on it. Sure. So I just realized then I was going to kind of like diversify outside of just real estate. So I've been doing some hard money lending. I've been doing more index funds. I'm getting into some private equity deals too that Tony opens up for his Platt group, which is super fun. Yeah. But so that's kind of a long answer again.
Oh, that's awesome.
But no, I love investing. I love talking about money, and it's a fun game. Yeah. So
no, I mean, Gage, this has been awesome. My personal biggest takeaway for all the listeners out there, probably it's not how but who. Yeah. Like almost everything that you've reiterated on here has been go find the people that have done it. Go copy right? Like it's not a shortcut. It's not a cheat code. It is a cheat code. Sorry. It's not a shortcut. It's here's the way to go do it. Just follow the path that's been paved before.
Yeah.
So for those out there that don't know, go follow the podcast, Proximity is Power. Other places to follow you to be involved with what you're doing.
Yeah. At Gage Heward on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm most active on Instagram, but yeah, it's been a ton of fun. My favorite episode so far of the podcast, if you want to start, is Casey Baugh episode. It's pretty fire.
Awesome.
So,
well,
dude, thanks again for having me.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate you, man.